welcoming on stage with a massive round of applause. Please put your hands together for Exness!
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming today. I want to start today's session with talking about one of the most controversial topics that we have. Usually, when we listen to the word trading psychology, we kind of go like, no, I already know this. This is something I'm aware about. But usually it's not the case. We kind of overlook this whole trading psychology and how much it can actually affect you. Now, what is trading psychology? Trading psychology is about people's feelings and actions that affects the markets, as well as how important it is to have the discipline and the mindset to be able to control your trades and when you need to do it. Now, one thing we have when it comes to trading is take profits. When you start entering the markets and you want to test the waters, you start with a demo account. Now, this demo account seems simple. You understand what you need to do, and you're very brave. And then suddenly you move to a live account. Suddenly, all the decisions that you have, they end up being so complicated. You're very afraid of closing the positions, and you start having an emotional challenge. When it comes to emotional challenges in trading, we have a few emotions that are crucial for us to overcome. There are many more, but we're going to talk about the first four that I believe personally affects a lot of traders. First would be greed. We become very greedy when it comes to how much profits we're going to receive, and we don't know when to actually exit the market. And we kind of go like, I can stay a bit longer. But that's usually a recipe for disasters. So that's the first emotional challenge we need to overcome. And then we need to understand as well there's a thin line between optimism and being greedy. The next thing would be the regrets. Now, we're very regretful as humans in general. So when it comes to trading, we kind of go like, what if I can stay in the market a bit longer? What if it would have been a better situation for me? And all of these things kind of clouds your judgment. So I would suggest when it comes to regrets, we kind of stop chasing the missed opportunities and kind of move forward. The next emotion would be fear of missing out, or we would say FOMO. We have this fear of missing out when we hear from our colleagues or our fellow traders or friends. They had a really good trade, and they want to have the same exact trade, and they're a bit regretful. Why didn't I do this? I wish I entered the market the same time he did. We have that fear of missing out, and that usually increases the likelihood of our trades, and it becomes less favorable anyways. Lastly would be our ego. We're under this impression that the market is against us, and that we need to figure out a way to be upping the market and doing better. But it's really not the case. The trend is our friend. We're going to be able to trade and have good trades regardless if we have that mentality of our ego. Now, traders need to prioritize these emotions anyways in order to be able to move forward. Now, this is a survey I found actually that kind of describes how people see things. It's not a big majority of people, like a population, I would say. It's around 1,273 respondents. But it's a good example of how we see and how we trade in the market. It has different age factors as well. You can see from the screen, we have under 25, 26 to 40, and 41 to 55 and above. And you can see, this is the males and these are the females. We can see here that 34% of these respondents, they mentioned that they have only, these are the only ones that have a concrete strategy. And the rest of them, which is a 96%, they're emotionally trading, which shows that we still don't have a grasp of our emotions and how we should be able to lead our trades. Now, what can we do about all of these emotions that I discussed and how we can control them? When it comes to greed, I believe that there's a set of things we can do that could possibly help us. It would be setting realistic profit targets, it would be managing your risks, and practicing discipline. When it comes to regret as well, we have to kind of learn from our mistakes and move forward with them as long as we're still objective and we're maintaining perspective on why we entered the market to begin with. And then we have FOMO. When it comes to FOMO, we need to stick to our plan. We have to be patient, as well as we have to focus on the long-term goals that we already set in the market before we actually place that trade. Lastly would be ego. We need to understand that we need to be a bit humble, accept responsibility, and seek feedback actually from traders and mentors that we have, that what could I have done better. I think these are a bit of emotions that we kind of need to just take it a day at a time and move forward with it as we keep trading more and more to be a bit more familiar with them. Now, this is a famous Hungarian American trader and a hedge fund. So he says, George Soros, he says, it's not whether you're right or wrong, but how much money you make when you're right and how much you lose when you're wrong. And I think this works with everything in our lives. We need to manage our risks. We need to take accountability and understand what are the risks that we took and how much did we manage to get profits out of them. Now, the blueprint for success would be, what can I do now with the information that is given to me? We understood what's our emotions. We understand what type of emotions are the ones that get in our way. Now, what can we actually do about them? We can start with a very simple thing, which is a trading plan. You need to be aware of why you're entering the market and what's your goal. Then you can start journaling this. Once you start journaling this, you will understand your tiny little mistakes that you have in the market and your little flaws and what you could have done better next time. And you need to remember as well that the market is a possibility and it's not a guarantee. And I think that kind of helps you to stay humble and be objective. Now, another thing would be that we cannot predict the future. What we can do is to try and analyze the market's behavior and work with it, move with the trend instead of against the trend. And we need to focus on reacting as well to the current conditions. It doesn't mean that when you have the idea that this might work and you don't have enough data to actually back it up, that's just an emotional decision. Most likely, you might be wrong. I think we need to stick to the plan, stay humble, stay patient, and move forward. And we shouldn't mix our styles as well when it comes to trading. Sometimes it works. I'm certain there are possibilities that it might work, but usually it wouldn't work. So I would say choose a trend, trade with it, and take some breaks as well. Like, you don't necessarily have to constantly be making profits. You need to understand that it's not a given, like I mentioned previously. So as long as you take your time, you get your trade, you made some profit, and you move forward, it should be enough for you to take a little break, stay back, and plan your next trade. Lastly, is simplicity is the key. We don't need to really overcomplicate it. All we need to do is come up with the plan and stick to it. And as time goes by, traders happen to understand one specific instrument more than the other. I know there's a lot of traders that try to go and put their eggs in all the baskets, but they end up actually being able to predict usually one or two instruments the most. And they end up trading only on that. And I think that is very important to focus on. And that would be it from my side. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a good day.